fans? It is a live edition of the Mac and Murray College Football Show. I believe we're live. We haven't done this yet before, and it's happening, I believe. And this has been an epic day of college football. We're going to be recapping everything that we saw in the Week 5 action, and it started obviously with the game last night, Virginia versus Florida State, and it just concluded really with the big games, Oregon taking down Penn State on the road, and then Alabama continuing to beat the Dogs. It is just a pain point for the Bulldogs. Cannot get over that hump against the Crimson Tide. So let's obviously both those games. We're going to talk about both those games first. There's a ton of other games. Ole Miss, LSU, Georgia Tech with the stunner. Indiana escapes. Ohio State escapes. Like it was to me, Eric, this was one of the greatest college football weekends ever. We thought it was going to be that, and it delivered that. So just first off, before we get into the game, just talk about how good and beautiful this game of college football is.
Well, it's unbelievable. Hey, great to see you, buddy. Looks like you're in a hotel. I just got home. We're all over the place, and we're doing this thing. But it was unbelievable. And, you know, it was interesting because it started. I was in Winston-Salem watching Wake Forest just pummel Georgia Tech, and I'm sitting here like, here we go. It's just going to be that type of day. But it ended up being an unbelievable game, and there was some crazy stuff that happened, a bad no call, and then it just, you know, propelled us into chaos for the rest of the day. And literally every game was unbelievable. Overtimes, last-second victories, last-second stops. Oregon giving the game away and then taking it right back, sealing the deal. And Alabama looking really good all game long. So it was nuts, to say the least. A great day.
An awesome day. So let's get right into it. Georgia against Alabama, and I'll give my first reactions here, being former Georgia Bulldog, and then we'll pass it over to you afterwards. I got to give my roses to Ty Simpson. I mean, this kid from week 1 against Florida State, which we've said multiple times was not all his fault and had some really good moments, to what he was the next 2 weeks, which is damn near perfect. But it was against lesser defenses, lesser football teams. And then to go on the road tonight against Georgia on the road, hostile environment. And my good, he didn't look phased at all. Like in critical situations, third down, you can't communicate. And yeah, there were some issues with timeouts. They burned all 3 of their timeouts in the first quarter. I get that. But he was cool as a cucumber, my man. Like it was just balls out, running the football well, accuracy, pinpoint, intermediate, down the field. I mean, the one to Ryan Williams that was dropped was an absolute dime. He looks like a different quarterback than he did a month ago. And it's amazing the progress that he's made. It's amazing what it means to have Grubb calling plays this year. And then just how good this offense is and the skill that it has. And obviously, Jam Miller played a good role at times running the football, did really well in protection. But Ty Simpson was the star of the show. Ty Simpson tonight catapulted himself clearly into the Heisman campaign based on the way he's played the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. And one thing I want to revisit before we jump into this that you had brought up, that I guess you hear other people say that Georgia is not loud. That dead all of that. That place was insane. And listen, I know you lost the game, but still. Like the fact that they had to burn all 3 timeouts in the first possession and a half of the game, that was crazy. I mean, that was, I've never seen anything like that. And it caused chaos all night. You saw it later in the game. I believe it was that fourth down, like that horrendous call, by the way, where they like tried to do a naked bootleg or something. They didn't know what to do. I mean, they're looking around and they can't hear. They can't think, because of how loud that place was and how electric it was. So shout out to all the Georgia fans there. Absolutely did their part to that game. But yeah, going back to Ty, like this dude is a freak. He was throwing laser beams. He was putting touch on the ball. He was leading guys, throwing it before they're open, anticipating, guys being open. It was awesome to see. And the fact that he was doing that on the road in that environment, bananas. Crazy to be able to watch that. And just a guy that, like you said, even in the FSU game, I don't think he was the problem.
Yeah.
Guys were dropping the ball. They couldn't run the ball to save their lives, which they still can't. It's just not who they're going to be. They did enough tonight, I thought, to keep Georgia honest. but he was good in the FSU game. I do think he's gotten better, and I do think his skill and kind of the game plan around him has gotten better. But this game in general, I'll let you talk about Georgia first before we dive or move on. But this game in general was unbelievable. And the fact that it started so fast in the second quarter, I'm like, here we go. This is the sprint that Aaron and I were talking about. And then just slam on the brakes. Nobody scores. I think Georgia scored in the second half, but nobody scores.
I thought Georgia's defense finally got going a little bit in the second half, obviously, and things started to slow down for them. And let's not forget, this is a very, very young Georgia defense. And they faced a high-powered offense in Tennessee a couple weeks ago. And you would hope that they could then get to a faster start this week and learn from their mistakes 2 weeks ago on the road to Knoxville. And obviously it was not nearly as bad as it was against Tennessee. There was like less deep balls getting up, and obviously the Ryan Williams drop probably would not have helped that conversation if he did catch the ball for a touchdown. Right. But I thought they matured from towards the end of the second quarter on through the rest of the game. You start to see those guys settle down. You saw them play really, really good tight coverage on the outside. And I think you can build from that going forward. Obviously, you just cannot put yourself – and Kirby's been known this for a while, like Georgia getting behind early and then obviously finding a way to climb back and win football games. And I just think the way college football is today, with how the wealth is spread out when it comes to talent, you can't just always rely on, we can just be a bad first quarter team and then we'll figure it out and then just dominate. Georgia's got to figure out a way to be good in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter. Playing half a football game is not going to get it done. So defense got to be better. And I think offense, honestly, to be honest, I thought the offense played fine. I don't think they played elite by any standards, but I thought it was a decent game. I love the fact they ran the football. You ran the football against Alabama for 227 yards. You averaged 6.9 yards per carry. Your quarterback was 13 of 20 for 130 and a touchdown. Like, that should get the job done. If you're the defense under Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann that you're supposed to be, an offense that is that efficient, and were there some bad calls? Should they have kicked it? Yes, I think they should have kicked the field goal.
Take those points.
Should they have gone tempo if they were going to go for it? No. Like, a game plan is never going to be perfect, and I guarantee you Bobo and Kirby are going to have a discussion about that. But at the end of this day, I think this offense played good enough to win the football game. And this is not me defending Bobo, because it does drive me crazy that Georgia gives up 44 points to Tennessee, plays like crap for a half against Alabama's offense, and the narrative is always like offense for Georgia. The offense played fine. I think the defense needs to mature and continue to mature. Like I said, take this second half and go forward. But it was a good offensive performance from Alabama. That's a lot of good weapons they have on their side.
Yeah, a lot of things to kind of unpack there. And I do want to have, before we go to another game, I do kind of want to have a big picture, kind of how this landscape has changed and what to expect moving forward. And I'll get to what I mean by that. But, looking at this box score, if you just said Georgia rushed for 230 on 4+ a rush, I'd be like, oh, they won the game. They won the game. They did their thing. Oh, Gunner had no turnovers. Yeah, they won. And they didn't. And so you are right. I do believe that, it's a little bit of out of sync, and the defense needs to, continue to improve. The fact that both these teams only had one sack, it's probably more shocking that Georgia only had one sack, because
but neither team came into this game really being able to rush the quarterback.
Neither
that's been Georgia's issue all season.
Correct. But I thought they'd figure it out, because it's against Tennessee. And as our boy Pollock said, they did it with 4, they did it with 5, they did it with 6, and they got nada. They didn't do anything. So I thought that would be a huge point of emphasis, especially with Ty wanting to get him off balance, wanting to get him off schedule, and they still couldn't. So that is still a massive, glaring issue for me and for Georgia, that this team just does not have to this point, being able to affect the game. And neither does Alabama. They couldn't do anything either. Obviously, Georgia threw the ball significantly less. And then your start thing, that's fascinating to me too, because I do want to give Georgia credit that they never flinched, and that they never were going at each other or mad at each other. And it cuts over to Kirby.
You knew they were going to do that based on what happened in Knoxville. You knew they were going to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's what they do. It's how they do it. And again, kudos to Alabama having these guys number. I got to ask you, what's the deal? Like, why can't we beat these guys? I heard, they've never played us in Athens. Here we go. We're good. But obviously not. And Big Daddy
Georgia got a
Bama
problem.
Saban ain't there. What's the deal?
Georgia got a Bama problem.
I'm just kidding.
It is.
I just get to
It's
pick on you like
there.
once
It's
a blue
real.
moon. I just got to.
And let's be honest, though, too. Like Alabama has just as in all those games that Georgia's lost, and I don't want this to sound like an excuse. Georgia or Alabama's had equal, if not better, talent than Georgia than all those games. It's very similar to the whole James Franklin thing at Penn State. He loses to teams that have better talent than him. Once again, Georgia's talent has been on par to equal to Alabama probably over the last 5 years. So like a lot of those losses, there is no talent excuse. I'm saying from the probably decade before all that. But yes, I think of all the games for Georgia that they've lost against Alabama over the past 5 years, the biggest ones to me have been, there's been a lot, like the national championship they were winning, and ended up Alabama came back with Tua. The SEC championship game when they were by far the better team that year, and then they lose that game, and obviously turn around and be in the national championship. But I thought they should have won the SEC championship game. Right. And then this one tonight, where you're at home, you've looked better this season. You had the crowd just unbelievable, as you alluded to. The atmosphere was electric as hell, right. And you couldn't get it done, and you ran for 227 yards. I don't know what it's going to take for Georgia to fully get over this hump, because Kirby is the better coach. Or maybe, is he? Because he's lost twice now to Kalen.
Don't say that. I think he's
the better coach. But
calm down.
There is something to be said about Kalen has beaten him twice.
Yeah.
Right?
It is bizarre.
Is that not true? Like, how can you say you're better than someone when you've gone against them twice and you've lost to them twice now?
Yeah. It's a good point. It's an interesting point. And maybe that's what he needed to fire him up, to get him rolling up. And
not last year's loss to them, not the time before.
I know. This is the one.
Kick the field goal. I still kick the field goal. Your defense was playing so well at that point.
Yeah.
So well.
I was shocked by that. I thought that was a getting out coached moment. I thought that was interesting that they didn't. Yeah. And then the decision to throw it to Cash, which Cash is great and has had many great plays. But I was just like, that's what you're going to do?
Was thinking, to me, the feeling was they were trying to get positive yards and then go for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
I think it was a third and longer situation. Let's get this to fourth and manageable. We have 2 downs to get it. The receiver missed the block on the outside, and it turned into a negative play. That guy blocks him, and obviously you don't want the penalty with it. That's on Gunner, and he makes sure everyone's set. But you block on the outside, you get 5 yards, and then all of a sudden it's a fourth and manageable. And then you go for it there. So I think it was kind of two plays. Bobo, get this one close, and then go for it. So, Dogs unfortunately have a Bama problem. Bama doesn't have a lot of problems. The offense looked great. Defense, obviously, still some question marks. But overall, this is a team that we thought was going to be elite heading to the season. Had a hiccup against Florida State, and have since then have made a lot of corrections and look really damn good. So congrats to Alabama.
What did you think about them slinging it out to Proctor? Like, that was pretty disrespectful.
That was awesome.
Like, what did you think about that?
That was badass. That wasn't disrespectful.
Hey, listen, if I'm throwing it to offensive linemen, I ain't worried about you. Like, I'm dominating you. I'm not worried.
No, that's you. This is a game where you bring out all the stops, baby. You bring out every single thing you got in the bag. In a game like this against Georgia, this is a big one for Alabama. Alabama needed to win this one. We said last week, Alabama had to win this football game, because you lose this one, then you start looking down the schedule. You can find 1 or 2 more losses there, and you can only afford 1 more. So they needed to pull out all the stops. They did it. They played a great game. Credit for Alabama. That's a hell of a win on the road in Athens. All right, another big time win. I mean, the 2 games this weekend, the big ones, road victories. You know how hard it is to win in Athens? 33 straight wins in Athens. You know how hard it is to win there in Nittany World with the whiteout and the
not Nittany World.
Yelling. The Nittany World. I'm drawing.
Not Happy Valley.
Happy Valley. I kept want to say College Station because I was thinking of A&M too. In the Auburn, I'm like, it's not College Station, you idiot. It's not A&M. But I couldn't get it, so it's Nittany World for me. There in Penn State, and Oregon almost crapped the bed though. And Oregon was the better team. Oregon was dominant, and it just felt like they put the brakes on when they went up by 2 scores. So credit to Penn State for kind of fighting through it. But Dante Moore, the better quarterback, Oregon, the better athletes, Oregon, the better defense, and the better team won that football game, even though it had to go to double overtime.
And I feel like that's what we thought going into it. Like, I was really, I mean, obviously it came to fruition that Penn State is a good football team. But for a second there, we're kind of like, these guys are cooked. Like they're
Yeah.
done. And it just felt like when they went up and scored 17, that felt like the widest margin of
Oh my
victory
God.
possible. Like it felt like it was insurmountable, impossible for those guys to overcome. And then you blink, you close your eyes, you're watching Bama, Georgia, and you look back and it's tied. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa, how'd we get here? What happened? And you know, Drew Aller did step up and made a couple of really nice plays. Those running backs got in the end zone, but all night it just felt like Oregon was dominating and suffocating defensively. I love what we saw from Dante. We were interested, man, going into that place. How would he handle it? How would he be able to control that environment? And I think for the most part, he did a really good job. The speed I thought was significantly different. I mean, anytime an Oregon guy caught or got the ball in space, there was a burst that just looked different from any other white jersey, or excuse me, white helmet that was on the field there. And I was really impressed with Oregon. That is a huge, huge victory. And those guys own the Big Ten. Listen, regular season,
Oh
they
yeah.
own that thing. They walked in here, punched everybody right in the face, and they're walking out and going back home to Eugene.
Well, I even thought too when it was 4th and 1, I was like, just kick the field goal. I thought if Oregon goes up by 2 scores, the game's
Yeah.
over with. I
Yeah.
did not think at that point the way that Drew was playing, and I had some buddies of mine that went to Penn State, that played at Penn State, or text me like, dude, like, is it Drew? Like, is Drew bad? What's the deal with Drew? And I was like, if you go back and listen to our show or my show with EMAC during the week, I kind of clearly laid it out. And I know you and I kind of had a discussion, especially about Pena and kind of what you saw from Pena a year ago at Syracuse. From what I've seen this year, watching the tape of their receivers, they're just average to good. And that's it. They're not elite. So I still have the feeling for 2 straight years that Drew Aller, and is he good in big time games? Does he need to improve? Yes, 100%. There's definitely issues with Drew Aller in big time games. But that dude doesn't have the same kind of receivers that an Alabama has, that Oregon has, that a Georgia has, or an LSU has, or name all these other quarterbacks that are balling out this year. What do they have? They got great playmakers.
Yeah.
What does he not have? He does not have great playmakers. He's got some possession dudes, and that's about it. He's got some really good running backs, but he doesn't have guys that can consistently win one-on-ones, a guy that can take a quick screen for a touchdown. It is an offense that is going to be difficult to be explosive this year.
Right.
And it makes his job that much more difficult. But he looked uncomfortable in the pocket. I'll say that. They couldn't run the football. And then he has to feel like he has to be Superman, and he doesn't have the dudes around him to do that. So I think the thing that got him going was obviously a little up tempo was good. Then they started moving Oregon up front and running the football to get into the overtime. But at the end of the day, like I said, I just think Oregon, the skill, the playmaking ability by Dante was tremendous, like in and outside the pocket. And they're just fast. It's a fast football team on both sides of the football.
Yeah. And they know that, right? Like big crossing routes, getting guys in space, getting it to those running backs out in space for Oregon. It's just fun to watch. And, seeing these guys, Hill Jr. out of the backfield just time and time again. And, there was a little bit scary there with that fumble. Like that would have changed a lot. I mean, that's a big old.
He was down, right?
Yeah, he was down. He was down.
Yes.
But what was interesting, again, we're watching 3-4 screens at once. All I didn't never see him go down initially. I just saw the fumble, and I'm like, oh my God. And then I see the replay. I was like, oh, that should have never happened. He was already down. But then the fact that they scored 2 plays later, I mean, that is a big momentum shift to where Penn State's thinking, okay, here we go. Now they ultimately found a way to stay in the game, but I just loved how they closed it out, man. Love that big pick, where you're getting in the end zone quickly, have a mess up on the 2-point conversion.
Do you think Penn State was gonna win at any
when
point?
they didn't get the 2-point, I was like, yeah, it's over. Like Penn State's gonna do this
really?
thing. Yeah. Because I
thought initially when it just went to overtime, period, and especially when Penn State scored first, I was like, oh God, they got that place is shaking.
Yeah.
It is. The defense is playing well. The defense is motivated. I was like, I thought it was going to be done for the first overtime when Penn State scored. I was like, game's over. Penn State won this thing.
They found a way. So huge shout out to Danny Lanning and the boys going into your trap. And
let me ask you this before we move on. Is it a Franklin thing? Because I'll say this, like the just like we just talked about with Georgia and Alabama, you can make the excuse when Kirby first got to Georgia that there was still a talent gap between Alabama and Georgia.
Right.
There is no more talent gap between Georgia and Alabama. Penn State returned all their playmakers. They win the portal and got guys they thought were going to improve the offense. The talent gap is not that much different than Oregon, if any at all.
Correct.
And especially the experience factor is
and
probably
David
favored Penn
Pollack
State.
literally told us they have the best 1-2 punch in coordinators and
Yep.
everybody back.
So is
there's
it
no
is this kind of the final nail in the coffin of just Franklin can't get it done?
I mean, it's the proof's in the pudding,
Or
you
what-
know, and he's had these great teams and he's had the matchups that he's supposed to take advantage of. And I mean, Penn State and Clemson, the odds on favored, whoever you look at, whichever you kind of live, you pick one of those two teams to win the Natty. And again, Penn State's going to be fine. I mean, they played this game very well. You whatever, you lose by 6. But they just don't look the part to me. They don't look the part to me at all.
No. What's the worst loss? Penn State or Georgia?
Probably Penn State. Because I think Georgia will have many other opportunities. I don't know if Penn State has those opportunities. I think from like a narrative shifting thing, especially how pedestrian the offense has looked all year long.
Yep.
It's kind of like, oh yeah, that's just who y'all are. Georgia, I still think can get better. Georgia, I still think is figuring things out. I think Penn State is who they are.
I agree with that one. I do. I still, maybe I'm because I'm more sensitive to it. It still hurts me with the loss and kind of the narrative, and the being at home. But I agree, it is now official. We did not know. We kept making excuses. They were holding back offensively, but now we know Penn State just does not have the horses in offense this year, and it's going to bite them in the butt multiple times the rest of the season, unfortunately for them, as they get going. All right, so let's move on from that game. Another great win, another phenomenal game in college football. All right, let's go to the Friday night action a little bit because this one was incredible last night. Florida State. I was at dinner with the
definitely
crew.
a way to describe it, buddy. I don't know if I would describe it as that.
Why not? It was an ACC on ACC game.
You know what it is? This is. Let me peel back the curtain for everybody since we're doing this live.
I'll let you go. This is an ACC game. We'll give you the first crack on this.
It's an ACC game. I feel weird even saying this, but when you have a ranked ACC team that's 8 in the country that you think can play, into this playoff and do things, when they lose, you're just like, what the heck is going on? Now, do I love Coach E with all my heart? Yes, that's my guy, my offensive coordinator when I was at Clemson. Super happy for him, everything that he's doing. But I think Greg Sankey makes a couple calls and says, hey, boys, throw a flag. Make sure they win the game. Drives me nuts. It was a great game, though. And Virginia punched them in the mouth.
Yes.
FSU didn't know what to do. And Chandler Morris is a baller. I need you to do his tape tomorrow. You need to look into that, buddy, because he's
played 6 years of college football. He's seen it all. He's like Tom Brady back, when Tom Brady was winning Super Bowls when he's 44 years old. The dude,
exactly.
You can't surprise it. No, he was an absolute warrior, and their running ability. And that second half, I'm just sitting in my hotel room watching the second half, eating a bowl of ice cream, just jaw to the ground, thinking like this Florida State team out-physicaled Alabama in week 1. And we're just sitting back saying like, oh my God, between Tommy Castellanos, the way the offensive line's playing, the way the defensive line's playing, like they're going to bully Virginia. They're just going to bully them up and down the field. And you saw in the second half an offense through 2 possessions hold the ball for 15 minutes, converting third downs, running the football, staying on the field, keeping Tommy Castellanos off the field. And what was the big thing for if you want to beat Florida State? Keep him off the field and make him a thrower. Well, they kept him off the field. They also made him a thrower, but I actually thought he threw the ball well. Like I did a whole breakdown today. It's going to get released tomorrow on Tommy. I thought he threw the ball well. I thought he ran it well. The one interception was difficult because you're doing he probably should have handed it. If that guy's tipping the football, that means you probably should have given it to the running back. Right. He pulls it. You're throwing to the left. He tips it up. That's unfortunate. But I thought overall, like he had a really good game. I thought Florida State's defense got punched in the mouth the way they punched Alabama in the mouth, and they were not ready for Virginia to be that physical. Virginia out-physicaled them at the line of scrimmage, and
Yeah.
it was kind of shocking to see, but hell of
It
a
was
game by them.
Yeah, it was really shocking to see. And I think there's two ways to look at it. A really good job by Virginia and a great plan that they stuck to and said, hey, this is what we're going to do, running the ball, for 211 yards. And on the other side, though, I saw uninspired defense. I saw a defense that didn't want to wrap up. I saw a defense that was not physical at all, particularly, on that line of scrimmage, the defensive line. And, in the back of my head, all I'm thinking about is, hey, boys, Miami's coming to town next week, and they're licking their freaking chops. They're saying, this is going to be great. We're going to run the
Yep.
ball for 400 yards. They've got the best offensive line in the country. I am fascinated. And maybe it was looking ahead. Maybe this team isn't as veteran and as ready as I thought they were to take the next step. And they were looking at Miami and disrespecting Virginia, but they found out really quickly that this is a new world of college football, and everybody has guys. Everybody has talent. There are not these massive gap, differentials anymore.
You have to play your A game. I think that's the
Every
biggest thing
game.
that we're learning. Like every week, you have to play your A game. Showing up on the road and playing a B game is going to get you, an L on the score sheet when it's all said and done. It just is. And I think Florida State learned the hard way. And I'll tell you this, like based on what we've seen, obviously in the SEC, but in the ACC throughout today, with all the craziness we saw in today too, and we'll talk a little bit about Georgia Tech later on the show. That league is, I say it's wide open. It kind of feels like it's Miami, then a bunch of teams.
Yeah, it feels like Miami
them.
has the reservation, and then whoever else who wants to
Yeah,
play.
but I guess we'll learn about Miami next week when they do face Florida State. Maybe they aren't as invincible as we thought, because we thought Florida State was somewhat invincible. But I still look at Florida State and I say, I still believe Tommy's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. That dude is so electric with his legs. Just almost unstoppable when he decides to run the football. I thought he really showed me a lot pushing the ball vertically down the field, like some of those back shoulders. And anytime that Deuce Robinson was singled up, like he was getting him the football, and it was awesome to see. I mean, how he put it in Deuce's hands at the end of the game and should have been a catch
crazy
to give him a chance to go to overtime.
Yeah, that was a dot,
or not
overtime,
but
throw.
In overtime.
Yeah,
I mean, incredible throws. Like I think he answered a lot of questions of, can Tommy beat you if you want to load the box? Because there was times where they were putting 8 defenders in the box, and he was still finding ways to be accurate down the football field. So I think he answered a lot of questions. It's still great offense. This comes down to Florida State defense, and then credit to Virginia, their quarterback and their physicality, their playmakers for showing up in a big, big way and winning that football game. All right, let's get back to the SEC real quick. A weird game in Oxford. Ole Miss wins 24-19. And I'm texting with, my former co-host T-Bob and then Jacob Hester. We're like I text him, I was like, what the hell is wrong with Garrett Nussmeier? Like, is he hurt? Because every single ball he throws looks like it's just fluttering. Like there's no zip on it. There's no juice. He's lobbing everything. Is it his arm? Is it his abs? Like why? Nothing looks quick twitch. It looks like he looks like an old man throwing a football. He looks like if I was playing football right now at 30, almost 35, and I haven't played in years, and I went out there tomorrow and tried to play, that's what I feel like he looks like. And it ain't good. It ain't the guy that we thought he was going to be. And it's costing them football games because this defense, I never would have thought I would say this, but this defense needs a better offense at LSU. And they may not get a chance to make it to the postseason because of the offense and because of Garrett Nussmeier. And I hate starting off a game by talking about the offense, but it is mind-blowing to me that he looks this bad. I got to kind of feel like he's banged up somewhere.
Right. Something has to be wrong because that guy that we saw against Clemson, ripping it, pushing the ball downfield, delivering dots, ain't the same guy that we're seeing right now. And listen, a lot of weapons out. Didn't have your running back. Kelly, by the end of the game, unavailable. And so that matters. Excuse me, Anderson. That matters. But still just what he's doing with the football. That to me is so weird, so strange. The fact that there's the lack of velocity, lack of zip. And still, with all that being said, they're right there. And this defense kept them in the game, kept them within striking distance. And, LSU just unable to make that happen. And so that game was nuts. And I think you have to give, Trinidad a lot of credit, man. And he tried to give it away though. When he was running around, ran out of bounds, and I saw Lane Kiffin's face, I was like, oh, he's about to kill this dude.
But how good is he though? I'm telling you, like a lot of people. I did my quarterback breakdown this week of him against Tulane, and I watched a little bit before that game, and then kind of went down and obviously did more of the deep dive with the breakdown. I was like, I love this kid. I think he can make every single. I just still want to stand next to him to see how tall he is, because he does look like he's about 5'8".
He's little.
He is little. He ain't 6'1". That is an absolute lie. But that dude can fling it. He can make all the throws. He's electric with his legs. 71 yards rushing again against that defense. Yeah. For Ole Miss, they still ran for 166 yards. No. 166 yards against that defense. Threw for 314 yards. Like, that is a really good day in the offense.
And guess what? Zero sacks. That was what blew me away the most. Is because you can kind of feel it. Like, I don't look at box scores while I'm watching, a game. Especially when we're doing different things. But when I got to the end, it was like, I feel like they haven't hit this guy. Like, I feel like they have not gotten to him. They have not touched him. And surely enough, 0 on the day. And that just goes to show you how special a guy is. And let me ask you this too, Aaron. Is there almost something to it that Kiffin and the boys almost feel like they can let him play more free because your backup, who was your starter, is probably healthy and probably ready to go if something happens to Chambliss there up front?
Yeah, but I think it's just also his strength. I still think that.
Right, you got to do it.
Yeah, dude, it's similar to what we just talked about with Florida State. It's you have to understand, like, yes, we want him healthy. Yes, we want to be able to throw the football, but his fastball is running the football. His fastball is being creative with his legs. And I think, Trinidad may be a little bit better of a thrower, but his fastball is what he can do with his legs. And I think you can't handcuff him and say, like, oh, we got to protect you. Oh, we can't let you run. There's certain quarterbacks that when their superpower is their legs, you just got to kind of deal with it. And you actually hope too, like, both those guys are so elusive, so quick, so slippery. It's like Lamar Jackson, that you never get like a true blow on him. Everything's kind of a glancing blow. So they're never getting like direct contact where you're worried about them just getting depleted left and right.
Himself.
Yeah, you have to trust that he's going to be a good enough athlete to protect his body when it's all said and done. But they ran the ball well, impressed with Ole Miss's defense, the way they flew around and made plays. But it's still, at the end of the day, comes down to the fact that LSU cannot run the football once again this year at all. I mean, nowhere. Yes, your top running back, who pretty much all your carries was out for the game. But this offensive line does not know how to run block. It's been multiple years now where they have no idea how to just get off and go. Right. They're built to pass protect, and your superpower on offense is throwing the football, and you have all these weapons, but now your quarterback is a shell of himself. Right. So who are you on offense? You have no identity on offense right now for LSU.
No, and identity. That's brutal, and that's a tough place to be going into week 6 of a college football season when there's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and honestly, this kind of we had the conversation about Penn State. Is this just a Brian Kelly thing too? Like we thought Clemson was maybe getting over that, preseason, or excuse me, early in the season, because it's like, okay, Clemson's top 4 in the country. They go to their house, they beat them. Well, Clemson's no good. And then they do this at Ole Miss, where they're the number 4 team in the country. Now LSU going against the 13th team in the country. I know they weren't favored. I know Ole Miss was favored, but at the end of the day, win the big game, make it happen. And he can't. He doesn't. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing with some of these coaches, man.
Yeah, it is a missed opportunity. But for Lane Kiffin, the big thing this offseason was, hey, you lost a lot. You lost a first-round quarterback. You lost all these receivers. You lost all these defensive guys. I'm still fascinated because there was a lot of talk this week about, I think it was from Marty McGee, maybe I'm misquoting this. It was from someone that said, we were at a Florida event a year ago, and the big talk from all the donors was that Lane Kiffin was going to be the next coach of Florida.
You got breaking news for us on the stream?
I don't. I'm saying this was a big talk this week, that it was kind of like Lane feels like the next.
I've heard a lot of people saying it's done, which is crazy.
I know. But do you think Lane truly, especially after today, believes that Ole Miss is as good of a spot as Florida, and he can truly win it at Ole Miss?
I think he can win national championships at Florida. I don't know if you can do that at Ole Miss. I don't know. I don't know.
Why not? What makes Florida
Just
right now?
history. I think there's a lot more. I think it's just like a sleeping giant, just waiting to be reawoken. I just think there's more there, and maybe that's foolish, but
Obviously, there's a better
I don't know.
history. There's national championships, no doubt
Right,
about it. But
right.
like,
Very recent. I don't know. I don't know. I
I,
feel
I
better
I
about it.
somewhat lean there, but he has proven you can win at Ole Miss and you can win
Do you
consistently.
think you can recruit way better at Florida than you can Ole Miss?
That's where I struggle at because obviously Florida State seems to be heading in the right direction.
Right.
Miami's in a great spot.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone and their mother goes to Florida to recruit.
Right.
So it's not as easy as you maybe
Used to
think
be.
it is because of the
Yeah.
other programs and their success.
Yeah. It's a good point.
So I
It
don't
is
know.
interesting. It'll be fascinating to see whatever decision is made there.
It is. I think that decision will probably be made very, 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 very soon. So, Ole Miss though, big winners, probably going to move inside
Huge.
the top 10, maybe closer to
Oh,
the
yeah.
top 5 after
For sure.
taking down LSU, who was the darling after week 1. After the
Hey, let
big
me ask
win.
you this before we jump into another game. I forgot to mention this after the first one, and it re-sparked with LSU. Are you with me in the assumption that we will have multiple 2-loss and maybe 3-loss teams in the college football playoff this year?
I don't know about multiple 3 losses, but I think a 3 loss could sneak in because you remember last year there was a chance that we could have had a 3-loss team.
Yeah, there's a lot
I
of
mean,
talk. Ole Miss was one of
South
them.
Carolina,
Yeah.
Alabama, Ole Miss, they were all right there.
And the reason
then
I'm asking is because it feels like like we've said, the talent is so spread out.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect to get in anymore. Like we
No,
expect people.
but I don't
to
think.
lose
I mean,
because
how
it's
many
better
teams are
football.
going to go? How many teams this year are going to go 11-1?
I know.
I mean, we may get like 4 or 5 teams that are 11-1 this year, and that's it. So then, yeah, the majority of teams that are going to be in the playoffs are going to be 10-2
Yeah.
or 9-3. Probably more 10-2s, but maybe a couple sprinkle 9-3s.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's great.
I mean, the NFL.
And I wanted to bring that up because LSU, Florida State, Georgia, Bam, like you're fine. It's all good.
Oh yeah, you're
just keep winning. Just keep
plenty
winning.
fine. Plenty
Take care
fine.
of your business.
Plenty fine. A team that is undefeated though and continues to win games and look pretty dang good. Texas A&M, who I was trying to talk about earlier with College Station, takes down the Auburn Tigers 16-10. And we just talked about bad offense for LSU and trying to find their identity. Another bad performance. And this was somewhat, you kind of felt like this week after going on the road against Norman, turning around after that emotional loss, and then going to A&M after they are coming off a bye week. You knew A&M was going to be prepared. You knew A&M was going to be able to slow down Auburn's offense, and they did just that. I mean, Jackson Arnold, 18-33, 125. Auburn only ran the ball for 52 yards. Like this offensive line has been such a disappointment over the past 2 weeks for me. It's hard to believe it's the same group I saw, but I'll say this. I had Baylor today. I had the Baylor-Oklahoma State game, and I did see, Oklahoma State, who could not score any points this season at all, have success against Baylor. So, like, maybe it was just, hey, Baylor's not as good defensively, or they're definitely not as good defensively as thought they were, and Auburn took advantage of that. And maybe that was not as great as a win as we thought. And maybe that offense does have a lot of problems. Obviously, I had quarterback with Jackson and the offensive line and then the running back position. But to look and see that your best receiver, one of the best receivers in the country, Cam Coleman, has 4 catches for 18 yards, that is criminal. Criminal. I don't care if he's triple guarded.
Right.
He's getting touches and he's getting yards. You cannot walk into that locker room if I'm Jackson Arnold and look at the stat sheet and say, this guy who's the best receiver in America had 18 yards.
Yeah.
No.
How would you handle that as a QB though? Like, have you ever been in that situation where?
No, because I would never do that.
Like, is someone coming up to you be like, "Hey,
I would never do that to my star receiver."
Yeah, because you feel it. You know, in the game, hey, I got to get this guy the freaking ball. Like, we got to get him going. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's bizarre.
You know it. You feel it. And
so, okay,
you
let me double down on this.
It's the best way to get out of a funk.
Yeah, I think this is fascinating for everybody watching right now. So is that a you thing, going to your head coach or your coordinator and saying, or your QB coach and saying, hey, help me get this guy the ball, like screens, flip pass, whatever it is.
During,
Like,
well, during the
what's
week,
that
during the
process?
week, there is a special spot on. If it's not, then it needs to be on there. There's a special spot on the play call sheet that says, "Get AJ Green the football, get Cam Coleman the football." These are the plays. So yes, I'm getting on the headsets and saying, "Hey guys, there's a special section on the play call sheet for so and so. Can we come out next drive with
Can
a
we go to
couple of
those?
plays? Can we just go to that box, that magical box that for some reason we feel like we don't want to touch, that we're scared of? Can we just dip our toes in there and just see if something will work
Yeah, yeah.
or
I'm
move
with
them
you.
around?"
Shocking.
There are so many
Shocking.
creative ways in which you can get playmakers the football.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing with Auburn is it's not like it's a one-man show on the outside.
Right.
You
There's
got
guys.
Malcolm Simmons, you got Eric Singleton. So it's not like a defense can just take Cam away. You can find ways to get him the football if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And they are neglecting giving him opportunities to get the football.
Yeah.
It is costing them ball games.
Yeah.
And it
It
cost
is.
them an opportunity today to be competitive on
Right.
offense.
It's shocking. How about on the other side, your boy Moss, the running back, who I know you're super high on, going for 139,
Oh, yeah.
just dominating
Well,
those
Well,
points.
they
He
finally
looked
got going.
great.
They finally committed to the run some. I
Yeah.
think that's like
Yeah.
they have a three-headed monster in Le'Veon and Ruben and Amari. And they've been, relying more on the pass game and the down the field stuff, which, I thought Marcel played well. Obviously, Casey Concepcion went off with 7 catches for 113. It was a balanced attack. And I still think with their offensive line and those running backs, and obviously what Marcel can do running the football as well, I would still like, to me, this felt like a Mike Elko win. Run the football, play great defense. And it's
Exactly.
not going to be maybe super high scoring.
Right.
But I'll say this for an A&M fan. Now all of a sudden you've had back-to-back weeks with 2 very different games.
Right.
You've proven that, hey, we can get into a shootout and we can trust our quarterback. And then now we can go into a defensive battle and run the football and play great defense.
Yeah.
And
Which
that's a
I
good
think
feeling
should
for
be
a coach.
inspiring. I think you
Yeah.
should be excited about that. And by the way, that team that you got in a shootout with just kicked the living crap out of a Big Ten team. Scored 42 points in a half and could have scored 100 if they wanted to by the end of the game. Pulled off the Dogs. I think Texas A&M's feeling good right
You're talking
now.
about them being in Arkansas, right?
3 weeks ago, Notre Dame with the shootout with Notre Dame. But you're right, with Arkansas. I'm more so just looking at the multiple ways that those guys can win. To me, is just impressive because you can go and do what do you want to do? What game do you want to play? Do you want to run? Do you want to slow down? Do you want to play big boy ball? You want to get it out on the edges? That they're just looking very multiple right now, and I like that. And I think I agree with this person. Run the ball.
I do too. I agree with
ball.
Case in the chat. A&M's identity needs to be a run-based offense. I think with Klein, it is a run-based offense first. I think they got a little cute to start the season. Obviously, it didn't bite them in the butt at all with a couple of teams they faced and how bad Notre Dame is defensively. But I think when push comes to shove, this is who they are.
Yeah.
And I think this is how you're going to lean into your season and win football games, obviously down the stretch. So that is a great win, 4-0. And now they got a big game next week against Mississippi State, which we'll get into that game right now. Mississippi State at home, them cowbells were ringing. What an awesome game against Tennessee. I thought Mississippi State was going to find a way to win this one. Goes into overtime, and Tennessee finds a way behind Joey Aguilar and that team to get a win. But I tell you what, Mississippi State this year improved defensively, and Blake Shapen is for real. They're going to upset someone, and they almost upset someone today. And this goes back to your point earlier, Emac, that no one is safe right now. Maybe like a handful of teams should feel somewhat safe week in and week out. But like if you're like a 10 through 25 team, every weekend could be a weekend you lose a football game.
Right.
Every one.
Right. And you're going to be fine. Like, I think at the end of the day, when you look at this is a battle. This was a war, for Tennessee, and you found a way. You found a way to do it. And coming off of, the things that you've experienced all year, finding out that Joey is super electric. Now, he wasn't very efficient today, but still pushed the ball downfield, had some mega, bombs and a couple of guys, a couple 100-yard receivers. Tennessee, I think, is another team that, how much better can they get? these guys had 5 sacks today. I mean, that's awesome to see the aggressiveness from the defense. We saw that against Georgia, and obviously they came up a little bit short there. Georgia turned on their superpower. So, as wide open as I think the ACC is, I also think the SEC is just as wide open. And I don't know. And we have said this before. You were even more bullish on it in the way you phrased it. Of no team walks into your stadium and you're scared of them this year. Nobody. No. I don't think anyone feels that, which that's fun for us, right? That's great. That's an amazing thing. And this ultimately, this playoff at the end of the year is going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. All right. So wrapping a bow on Tennessee, great win. Also went on the road, loud, crazy environment. Mike Matthews, Chris Brazzell, phenomenal receivers. I mean, some of the catches Chris can make is just crazy. He made some more of those catches in this ball game this evening, and that's a big win for Tennessee to get to 1-1 in the SEC. I'm gonna talk about Indiana real quick, and then I'll let you finish off with Georgia Tech. Battle for Indiana. Anytime you face Iowa, for some reason, no matter how bad Iowa is, and they ain't good. Trust me, they ain't good. But somehow they find a way to make things competitive. Indiana finds a way to get it done 20-15. Oh, the other big one, too, we forgot about this game. We'll have to maybe touch about this in a week. Illinois beating USC. Good for USC for making the game competitive.
Yeah.
But, USC's defense is bad.
Yeah.
When push comes to shove, USC is still USC. They can't play defense. I like their quarterback, Maava. He went to a little bit of a slump after his interception, but love their fight in the fourth quarter. But at the end of the day, USC, as we all know with those teams, they can't play defense. Yeah. And Illinois ran through them from the very beginning. Yeah. It's going to bite them in the butt. It's going to bite them in the butt 2 weeks from now against Michigan. Give us your quick thoughts on Georgia Tech before we head out of here.
Yeah, you talk about bringing your A game every freaking week. I mean, this was almost a disaster, and it really probably should have been. Let me touch on this first. There was a horrendous no call, and Wake Forest fans, if and when you see this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That essentially gave the game to Georgia Tech. I mean, it should have extended the drive. It was 3rd or 4th down. And a guy is blatantly offsides when the ball snapped. Quarterback launches it because he knows penalty flag's coming, and it never comes. And they're just like, what is happening? So that was a really bad missed call that ultimately I think would have won, Wake Forest the game, but they didn't call it. And Georgia Tech found a way. I'm a little hesitant. I'm a little, pissed off with those guys because everybody knew all Wake Forest could do was run the ball and run the ball very effectively. Should have stacked the box more, should have tackled better. They didn't do that, but you got away with a win. You found a way to do it. Super gritty. Your defense came up with a big stop. Wake Forest went 4-2 before they had to, and you stopped them, and you got the dub. So big shout out to those guys. But hey, wake up, baby. You're not the hunter anymore. You're the hunted. You got the target on your back. Everybody's coming after you.
Very, very different feeling from being the one going after someone than the one everyone's going after you. So we appreciate everyone joining us. We were, we may do some more of these lives going forward. For those who are watching on Twitter, we got a lot of people watching on Twitter. Make sure you go to the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, all that great stuff. We just hit 30K. Next one, we want to get to 40K and then 50K at some point, maybe by the end of the season would be awesome. But we need your support. We appreciate your support. We hope everyone had a great, great Saturday and enjoyed it as much as we did watching it and covering it. And we'll be back tomorrow with more, not live, some quarterback breakdowns. I have a bunch of quarterback breakdowns I'll do this week. And then we'll do our normal show on Tuesday, breaking down and previewing week 6. And then we'll have our big game breakdown next Thursday as well. So appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you next week.